Welcome to the REI Hacker Podcast, where we unlock the secrets of real estate success. Join us as we dive into the journeys of top investors, mentors, and industry experts. And now, let's hand it off to our host, Benson Juarez.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here on this edition of the REI Hacker Podcast. My next guest is Andrew Llewellyn. He is the CEO and founder of Superstays. It's a hospitality brand that's redefining short-term rentals along the Kentucky Bourbon Trail in the Louisville area. He's a former food truck and ice cream shop owner turned real estate developer. He specializes in transforming old commercial buildings into boutique group stays. Like the Swepson Guest House, it's a 10,000 square foot historic conversion in downtown Louisville. From managing 30 guest retreats to running an EOS-driven hospitality business, Andrew blends creativity, operations, and storytelling to make real estate both profitable and personal. Andrew, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
I really appreciate you having me. Happy to be here.
You got it, man. You got it. So you're based out of Louisville.
Yep.
Is that where you're from originally?
Yep. Born and raised.
Cool.
Went to school in Colorado for 4.5 years, and then came back to Louisville. It's a great little city.
Well, I'm glad you went home. We don't need any more people here. we got, this is the time of year when all the leaves turn yellow, right? So like the aspen are changing. So we got tons of tourists just flocking to the mountains, and you know, it's great. I love when tourists come and have positive things to say about my state. But what is it that people say about where you live that they really like?
They love the Bourbon Trail. They love horse racing. They love the horse farms. And we are considered a large convention city as well. We do a ton of conventions.
Oh, so, nice.
Yeah. A lot of people coming in from out of state.
I like that, which makes it an amazing place for short-term rentals and yes, group rentals as well, right? Is that just a coincidence, or is that something that you strategically planned?
It's a little bit of a coincidence. We did not even plan to be in the real estate business, in the hospitality business at all, and just kind of pivoted there to make some things work. And we can jump into that if you like, but had 2 ice cream shops, food truck. We were running a concept with that, and then out of the back of the ice cream shop, we were running a bakery, wholesale bakery, to coffee shops and other restaurants in the area, and we needed to move that out of the back of the ice cream shop. So we purchased a building to put that in, and I had a couple of friends in real estate, and they thought it was a great idea that there was 2 long-term tenants on the second floor of this building, and kind of a cool Airbnb on the 3rd floor of this building. And we got through, submitted our permits, everything we needed to do with the city, and they said no chance that you can put a bakery there. And so they're like, you're not doing that. If you want to, you have to put a type 1 hood, which is like what Buffalo Wild Wings would have. And so that just sent our budget to a point where I didn't think I could sell that many blueberry muffins to recover the dollars. As funny as that might be.
Wow.
So I had the building, and my buddy that had walked through to look at the Airbnb with me, he had done one of the first, call it like large Airbnbs, 16 people before he had that before COVID, and it was working well for him. And he said, you should Airbnb this whole place. And it's kind of like, man, that's kind of crazy. I don't think anybody needs 10,000 square feet of Airbnb. But after, I have the building, the city says that's probably not going to work for a bakery. 10,000 square feet of Airbnb started looking pretty good. So I modeled it out, and it worked well, found some comps, and the rest is history. So we started off with the concept of 5 individual units, and with the thesis that maybe there are large groups that would occasionally come, and we threw up a listing with the whole building as a buyout, and it started booking before we even finished the construction of the 2 apartments on the 1st floor.
Wow. So you said 5 individual apartments, and so the idea is that they're going to come here together, they're going to stay close to each other, and then maybe there's some communal, like, common areas for them to hang out, and cook some food or, play games and
Yep.
just be around each other?
Yep. The third floor of this building, the layout was it's a little awkward for just like a single apartment. It has this overly large kitchen, kind of two living rooms and an open space, big dining room area. It's just kind of an awkward three-bedroom apartment. It's almost 3,500 square feet, and it works perfectly for expanding the dining room table to 15 plus people, putting two really good living rooms in there, chef's kitchen, and then that acts as kind of the landing spot for the group when they come, and then the four other apartment units allow people to kind of get away from the group at the end of the day.
So there's already one, it was there before, and you added four
Yep.
additional, and then in the common areas.
Hmm.
That's really cool. So what does the booking look like? Do you put it up on Airbnb, or is this on a completely separate service, or do you just have your own website and market it independently?
We do all of that. We are on Airbnb, Verbo, Booking.com, a couple of the other smaller providers of those online travel agencies, and then we have our own website, and all of our marketing is, including on the OTAs, is trying to drive traffic direct because we make about 15% more that way.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can see that would be like a great opportunity to do like social media posts where people are, they're hanging out in the kitchen and they're taking photos and little mini videos and stuff, maybe a drone flying around or something like that. Have you leveraged social media much?
We haven't found much traction with it. We keep up with it. We do it on a
Mhm.
daily basis, but we haven't gotten much traction with it. I think they've changed the algorithms. When we had a restaurant, it worked great.
Mm.
Uh, what we were doing, but I think the algorithms have kind of changed, and they show more people rather than brands or products.
Yeah. So like there's a difference, right, between what you're doing in like a traditional Airbnb. And with traditional Airbnb, it's basically they're just providing a place to stay, right? A bed, place to cook. They're really not spending a lot of time there. They're usually out and about, enjoying the city. But this is more of like you're engineering an experiential stay,
Hmm.
right? So what's really the difference, and how do you cultivate an experience in this situation here that you're doing as opposed to what someone might get from a normal Airbnb stay?
Yeah. I would say that a normal Airbnb stay is fundamentally, it's a pillow, it's a commodity. Those guys are competing on price and, how cool can I paint my walls? And that's a necessary component to what we're doing as well. And then we like to take it a step further, and we try to engineer the entire trip to say, if you can arrive with your group in Louisville, we'll set up your bourbon tours. We'll set up private chef for you. We'll get you behind the scenes access to Churchill Downs. You can have breakfast with the owners of the horses and the jockeys, and really just try to create this like one-off experience for our typical customers, our bachelor parties and corporate retreats. It's kind of crazy that those two ended up being our customer, but they essentially want the same thing, a really unique one-off experience that you can't find on the internet. And we put it all together and manage it and make sure people have a great time.
That's amazing. Is there anything that you've done inside design wise that helps to support this experience?
Yeah, we've kind of all of the spaces all have unique paint on the walls. We kind of think of the space as like, that's amazing for a weekend. I love it for a weekend, but I wouldn't want to live there full time. Like, we try to take it to that, kind of over the top level. Um, just very appealing visually.
Yeah, I love it. Does it appeal more to a certain kind of demographic? Is it like geared toward a certain age grouping, or male, female, professional versus somebody who's blue collar? Like, how did you design this place to fit, maybe the masses or just a certain kind of group?
Yeah, we really we it's kind of an evolution, and we did one unit, and it was a little more on the feminine side, greens and purples in it, and immediately we saw, we're like, wow, that did not book very well like we expected, and that taught us really quickly, like, people coming to Louisville for the Bourbon Trail and tourism are mostly going to be men, for primarily. There are women that come, and couples that come to do the Bourbon Trail, but we really focused on more of the bachelor party for men crowd, and like sales teams. Not to say there's not women on sales teams, but sales teams for corporate retreat that are primarily men. So everything in our building is very masculine,
Yeah.
from a design standpoint.
Yeah, and it's not like you didn't try to have some feminine aspects. It just didn't work. Like, so you kind of A/B tested it, right? And
Yeah.
and the audience told you what they wanted.
Yeah, and we're and we're stuck with that unit to this day. It just doesn't, it doesn't make financial sense to change it up, but it still doesn't do as well as the other units.
Interesting. So
Yeah.
when we were getting ready here to do the show, you said that you got another project that you're doing right now that's in, the center of the city, lots of red tape. Like, tell me about that project.
Yeah, that is basically taking the learnings and the business model from the Swepson, which is 15 bedrooms, 10 bath, 10,000 square feet, and multiplying it times two and putting it in a much better location in downtown Louisville, walking distance, like 3 blocks from kind of, if you know Nashville, their Broadway strip. Ours is called Whiskey Row. It's right in the center of the action. So we'll be right there, and it'll be 32 bedrooms. We'll have the common area, the outside space, free parking in downtown. We're really looking forward to that one.
Wow. Does your clientele, do you think, change when you're doubling the amount of people that are going to be there? Is it going to be cultivating more like, corporate events than this kind of bachelor party type thing?
Yeah, I think we may be able to capture more corporate events. We sometimes get inquiries for corporate events, and they're like, "Hey, we have 60 people," and we're like, "We're not even close to that." You can put part of your team here and use the space with all 60 if you like, but we don't really catch those. We don't catch that business very often, or make it work. And we think that this new property will help us make it work. And then all of the properties are designed to like slice and dice to be able to sell them, expand and contract them as needed for the groups.
Yeah. It's becoming more common for companies to do like these off-site retreats where they bring their core team. Maybe it's not the whole company, but it's maybe the C-level execs, or just the people who are involved in decision and planning, and getting ready for the next year. Are you seeing some of that potentially coming down?
Yeah, we see a lot of that business already, with those core teams, just because of the size of our property. It's the privacy. You're not stuck in this stale conference room at a Holiday Inn, or even a nice hotel. They're nice conference rooms, but everyone's been to one. It's not unique and it's not inspiring. And I'm rattle off some major equipment rental companies, major petroleum companies, and big truck stop company. They use us multiple times a year to host their offsite events, and they're not just sit in front of it's not just a board meeting for 3 days. It's a little bit of a board meeting and a whole lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
Is really what they're doing.
Yeah, that's the kind of the culture shift, right? And sort of like that, uptight corporate feel that a lot of people do, but that was adopted a lot from like the startup world, right? The startups were the ones that started to create those environments that were more relaxing, and where they're giving people all the amenities to make them just feel like they were at home. Places to go and nap, and places, big comfy chairs, and lots of plants, and just made it feel comfortable. And then coincidentally, you guys are really big on EOS, which
Hmm.
is the entrepreneurial operating system. So that all kind of ties together, doesn't it? Like, have you baked in some EOS culture into the way you've designed these spaces?
Yeah, that's interesting. Everything is on a scoreboard for us. We track a ton of measures, down to cleaning, because we find that that's a leading measure to success to a 5-star review. Can we hit all these marks? And so that's a big aspect. The culture is a big aspect of who's responsible for what task within the property and the business. And then to the actual design, I've never thought about the parallel of that, but I'm sure there's some in there, and the learnings and the iteration and the momentum of it, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see definitely some connections there. I don't know if it's just, coincidental, if there's some correlation there, but I got to believe that your EOS mentality somehow bled into how you're running this place, right? And then how
Hmm.
people, how they consume it, or how they take the, just how it feels, right? I bet
Yeah.
you there's a difference in their minds just on how it's set up. It sounds like a place
Yeah.
I'd want to
We
visit. Like this, it sounds amazing. This is mostly, audio, but I've got like my mind's turning over here, thinking about all the different things that you could do in a place like that that would make it fun and welcoming.
we really try to make it so that our groups feel like they're walking into their home or their friend's home, and there's not all these like things they have to think about, like, oh, we've got to get drinks and snacks, we forgot that, or I've got to download this like ridiculous app to scan with the door. And from that perspective of the customer and EOS, of just simplifying it and iterating on it, to make the customer experience the best it possibly can be. Those are a lot of things. I mean, we talk about that in our weekly IDS meeting.
Mm, very cool. So I don't know how much you can reveal about this, but let's say, they were interested in like your first building. Like, what does it cost to rent out a building like that?
Yeah, we typically are charging about 3,000, and during peak season we're about $3,000 a night. So if you break that down, divided by 15 bedrooms, it becomes a really good deal.
Yeah.
If you're just comparing against 15 hotel rooms,
Hmm.
it makes a lot of sense to actually do it. And then the fact that you can come into kind of a tertiary market where prices aren't so high for things like transportation and entertainment, kind of gives us another leg up and allows us to take a little margin in setting those things up for guests that are coming into town.
So have you established relationships with some service providers and some venues and event places around where you're at, and there's some sort of a referral agreement that you guys have?
Yeah, we essentially, we've got all the relationships, and we'll sell that to our guest. These kind of one-off, unique experiences that we've worked out. Like I'll give you an example. Like, anybody can go on a bourbon tour, but very few people can go have breakfast in the distillery before it opens, and have a private tour and watch the barrel dump before 8 a.m. So that's one of the small, that's kind of the idea of what we do across the entire day.
Mm.
And just to have those relationships and those things in place, and then we then just mark that up and send an invoice, and kind of again create a package, a customized package for people, and here's the price, and then it just goes off with a hitch. That's the idea.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
How much did you guys double down on the idea of, the Kentucky Bourbon Trail and, creating this environment? Is there whiskey everywhere? Do you got, the oak barrels and you made chairs out of them? Like how deep did you go?
Yeah. Well, I mean, as soon as you walk in the side gate to enter the property, there's 6 bourbon barrels right there from Woodford Reserve, and then on the third floor we've got the area code 502, but the zero is a barrel head with the logo of the Swepson in it. So it's just everything's bourbon here, everything's horse racing. It's Kentucky.
That's cool. There's a balance though, right? Because you could easily go overboard, right? With horses and barrels everywhere. I can see there would be like a very kind of classy way of incorporating those design elements so they can get the flavor of Louisville, but it just not being overbearing and being like a circus.
There's certainly some offerings of properties in Louisville. They're not large properties, but they're smaller ones, and it's like, man, is this just a branding opportunity for somebody? Like this, I feel like I walked into a promotional set for just every bourbon brand. And it just hits you in the face. And to your point, it's not classy, it's overdone, and
Yeah.
we have to be very careful with that.
Yeah. So I know there was sort of like this scenario that happened with the bakery where you kind of became like this accidental landlord, right? But you also discovered that it's just kind of easier for you to host 30 guests than it is to managing, smaller units. What are the economies of scale there from just doing one unit or two units to managing like these group scenarios?
Yeah, there's a slight premium, call it per square foot, since we're a real estate podcast here. There's a slight premium per square foot that you can get for hosting the large group because there's just not that much inventory of that type of product in the marketplace. Number one, and then number two, it's generally the same amount of work to deal with a group of 30 and get them sold on buying the space and staying there as it is a group of 2 or 1 or the 5 individual units. And then the group of 30 is a lot easier to manage on site because they're distracted by each other, they're having a great time with each other, and they're not, kind of like the group of 1 that came to you and they're just kind of only considering price, and then they're like, well, your toilet paper is not as nice as what I expected. And I was like, well, you paid $120, and this is not the Four Seasons.
Right.
If the Four Seasons is $400 for a reason. So we find that the group guests are not only, I mean, they're just through the entire process are easier to manage. And when you get your price up to $3,000 a night, it really weeds people out, and you, in a way, you get the best kind of guest, the guest you want to have.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense for any sort of premium type experience, the nicer restaurants, the places you go to where there's a cover charge or a line to get in, like that's all to vet people out at a very basic level. But for those people who are listening, who are thinking that they might want to scale up their operation, instead of hosting, one or just several small units, what do you think the single most overlooked logistical hurdle is that they should be concerned with or be aware of in going that direction?
I think the single biggest hurdle that I've run into with scaling up this operation, we're already decent size. I mean, we're big for an Airbnb operation with the size of that building, but to double the size of it, go into the central business district, financing, finding a bank that is willing to bet on, call it this experience. It's almost an experiment. This is like not traditional banking friendly at all. They're not super thrilled with Airbnbs lately. They're not super thrilled with hospitality in general. And then you kind of layer on, you're like, we're going to build an 18,000 square foot residential style boutique hotel. And they're like, whoa, we've never seen one of those. We don't know how to underwrite it, and we don't have any data on that. Oh, that looks like an Airbnb. Not interested. Thank you. So,
Right.
that is the single biggest hurdle.
But you figured it out apparently, right? You found what, like a local bank, or did you have a relationship already established, or did you have to convince a bunch of people to get on board with the idea?
We, I called 40 banks in the region. I called every bank in the region, and
Wow.
I got three guys that were willing to look at it. I got two term sheets. One was a polite, please go away and come back with a real project, and then one was a serious offer that we ended up going with.
What do you think was
And
different about that bank or that person who decided to, you know, take a risk with you? What was different about them versus everybody else?
yeah, that's a very insightful question. I think that the guy in charge of the commercial real estate office at this bank, they're kind of a larger regional bank that's still family owned and has promised to never sell. They said it'll just go into a trust. We're not going to sell it. He was previously an entrepreneur, so I think he saw, my track record of what I had created, and saw the potential and saw that I could convey the hole in the market, and saw the thoughtfulness of why we were doing every small little thing in the property. And I truly, he bet on me. He didn't bet on the project.
Yeah, that's a lot of business, isn't it? When you think about
Yeah.
the entrepreneurial world, a lot of the things that people are betting on is things that haven't happened yet. It's a lot of ideas, right? And track record for sure. I've been in the startup world for years and years, and it's the founders that they really bet on of the company. They like the idea, or if the idea just isn't good, they're like, the next time something comes around that you're doing, let me know first. Like I want to work with you. This just isn't the right idea, right? So it really is a people business.
It, you know, the deeper I get into business, and the bigger we get, and the more sophisticated people I get around, it's really just relationships and trustworthiness, and it's not a resume. It's not, these check these boxes anymore. It's, do we like each other? Can we work together well? And do I trust that you're going to get it done no matter what it takes?
Yeah. But fortunately for you, you've got a good track record, right? Like if you had tried to do this project without the last one that you did, it would have never worked, right? You got down to your last option with this
Mm.
bank. Did you have to throw in any offsite bookings for him so he could go, check it out? Is that like like the fine print? Like my wife and I and the family and the company have to go down there and check it out for you?
No, there was there was none of that, but they I would say they slow rolled the process. It was a very long, I want to say it was almost an 8-month process. Yes, they really slow rolled it, and asking me kind of strategically for certain things, and like putting their side of the picture together, and how's the current one doing? What are you guys doing in November for, the elections coming up? Nobody's traveling. What have you done? Questions like that,
Hmm.
and kind of these just small steps. And I think just getting comfortable with it, and that, yeah, just creating a relationship, since we didn't have one. We went to a lot of University of Louisville basketball games together.
Oh, there you go.
It's just the way it is. Yeah.
Yeah, why not? I mean, that's a great place to get to know each other, just to see if you guys vibe together, right? It could be as simple
Hmm.
as that. Like if you ever sat down with somebody at a negotiation table and right away you just know you don't like the person, like you don't
Yeah.
want to do business with them, and that could have killed the deal easily. But obviously, you're a likable person, and the door was open up wide enough for you to stick your foot in and convince them over time. And 8 months is a long time. Did you
Yeah.
have
Very long.
that building under contract the whole 8 months?
Well, this was a mistake I made in this process, that I was, lucky to recover from. We had started with a bank that we had done the previous project with, and they were all excited about it. They had actually passed on other deals because they wanted to fund our deal. And we purchased the building quickly. It had been on the market for a while. We offered kind of a quick, easy out for the owners. And it got to the board of directors, and the environment was changing. The risk was being turned off in this process. And one of the board members said, I just refuse to approve this thing. Like I don't like it. I don't like where Airbnb is going. And so they said, we're not going to fund the construction part of it. And you've already got the building on a 2-year note. That should give you time to find some other financing. And so we just sat on it, and it worked out. It took almost all of that time. One of our tenants, all the tenants in there were on half the market rate and handshake verbal leases. So you can imagine how little we paid for it. I mean, it was a huge problem. I knew what I was getting into. We had $25,000 in legal fees for evictions. And we ended up using every bit of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So during that 8 months, though, you're paying your interest payments every month, right? Just to kind of keep it floating until you get the rest of the financing to finish the construction.
That's correct. Wow. Painful.
I would have had to move in there. I would like, all right, where am I going to put my sleeping bag?
Yeah. Yeah. It was, it was very slim. It was very slim. So we were using, luckily our existing property was producing tons of cash, and we were able to use every penny of that.
So did you use the same partners from your original project on this one?
Yep, we did.
That's good.
We did. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
And they were more than happy to be a part of it again.
Yeah. I mean, a successful project, why not, right?
Yeah.
Scale up, do the next one. Speaking of scaling, so you're really following EOS closely, and being the kind of the leader of this group, and you're responsible for defining the company's culture, the core values, right? So is that something you can share with us? Do you guys have some core values that you think are really guiding the ship?
Yeah. To define them and, kind of like those bullet point terms that you see most of them in, I probably couldn't do that. It's been maybe 12 to 24 months since I looked at them that way. But what we live every day is, wake up ready to fight, give it your all. And maybe you had a good day, maybe you had a bad day, but go home, get a good night's sleep, and let's wake up and do it all again. Be ethical about it. Give a little extra to people, whether that's the customers or the employees. Try to provide as much value as possible. I actually got asked this the other day by a fellow operator, and they were like, I cannot believe you have your own cleaning staff. You have 5 people on staff. I don't know how you keep those girls. They've been around here for 2 years, most of them. And I was like, man, we just pay them 50% more than the market, and buy them pizza, and I call them, once a month if I haven't seen them, and just kind of have we're having a conversation. I'm just like, hey, how are you? How's your husband? How's your dog? Those sorts of things. What can I do for you? And kind of a family, kind of a Midwest family mentality is what we try to live every day.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, you don't always have to be able to define it, but a lot of core values, they just come from inside of you anyway, right? So you don't have to be written down on a wall. It can help sometimes to have a nice reminder when things aren't going well, but if that's just how you lead your own life, then it's easy to have that transposed to the business and the people you work with.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's a benefit. I've got all those girls that work for me. They make about 50% more than the market rate. They've got a consistent job, and my cleaning cost is about half what it would cost anybody doing contractor payments. A
Wow.
one-off kind of, you know, I mean, what's a house cost or apartment cost to clean on Airbnb? You've mentioned to me that you had one. It's like 120 to $150. We're doing it for 60, $70 a turn.
Wow.
And so that makes a big difference. So everybody's winning there. Win-wins all around.
That's amazing. They're probably excited for this next project, right? You're gonna have to hire more people, or can they handle the additional one?
We'll probably have to double the number of staff we have.
Hmm.
But the existing staff is they're excited. I don't think they've ever been near somebody doing a project like this. So I think it's a I walked them through the building and they were like, "Cool, it's an office space. I don't know how you're going to turn this into a hotel, but thumbs up, buddy." And
We got your back. Just make sure I get
yeah,
paid.
yeah, just make sure I get paid exactly. And I show them some pictures, and they're like, "We're super excited, but we still don't see the vision."
Yeah.
So it'll get there. That's not for everybody to see from office to hotel.
So let's pray for you that you get your permit next week. Okay. So you get your permit.
Yeah.
How long before the project is complete and you can start booking people?
I'm hoping about 6 to 7 months after we get a building permit, since we've done all of our demolition in the building. Hopefully, we can get that thing put back in there. We've got a ton of great subs lined up to do the work. I've used them in the past on projects. This project's big enough that I actually hired a general contractor to handle the subs and the administrative part. And he actually, here's a little tip for guys listening. Go to your subs and find out which GC they think does good work, but they don't like working for because they're nitpicky. That's probably a good general contractor. Um, so that's what we ended up doing, and so we'll see. It's our first one with this guy, and he's been great so far.
So now that demo's done and you're waiting for permitting, what can you do in the meantime? Is there stuff you can do that isn't at the building itself to like get ready for the whole process?
On our end, we're doing a lot of marketing. We're doing a lot of price comparisons.
Mhm.
You know, just kind of like getting into the nitty gritty of like, can we go directly to a mattress manufacturer since we need 55 mattresses for this place? Like, is there a local manufacturer that could give us an unlabeled bed at a discount rather than going to a big box store or Wayfair?
Mhm.
Same thing with the art. We're working on custom art for the entire place. I've got an artist, and we meet once a week for an hour and go through and do a unit. Try to do a unit each week for the art. So you know, tons of little things. The problem, you know, this is a problem with a project this size. It's like it's kind of big, but at the same time, like it's not a $60 million apartment complex that you can just hire every single thing out and have a boardroom meeting with, like the big developer guys do.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm heavily involved in every detail.
Which is how you want it, right? At least at this point, you want to have your
Yeah.
hands in it. And so it can be something that you're proud of and
Hmm.
something that you think that people will want to come to and spend time there and share with their friends, right? You got to get those 5-star reviews.
Yep. Yep. Unfortunately, we live and die on those 5-star reviews.
Oh yeah, it's such a big part of the business. Actually, it's one of the things I don't like about Airbnb is how tied to reviews it is. Like they're important,
Hmm.
but I feel like there's a better way of doing it than just like if you don't get a 5-star review, then something negative happens. I think some of them
Yep.
are just like people just give them because they don't want the business owner to be hurt. Like it's not like a true reflection of what their stay was really like in a lot of cases. Do you agree?
I 100% agree. We've Yeah, it goes both ways. You know, we've negotiated with guests, and we've had a small issue, and they're reasonable people, and we've negotiated with them on, you know, some sort of compensation, whatever it be, and you know, they'll go ahead and leave a 5-star review, and I'm like, well, that wasn't a 5-star stay. You know, that's, you know, thank you. I appreciate it, but that's probably not a reflection of what actually happened. And then the other way is like, we never heard from the guest. We did everything, we know to do to get the 5-star, and that's worked in the past. And they're like, 4 stars, no words with it. It was like, well, I literally said, before you checked out, please let me know if it's not 5 stars. Like, I want to fix it for you.
Right.
And it's 4. Well, why? I know it wasn't 4.
Right. Yeah, it's just one of those things about the business that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But you have to play the game, though, right? The game, the rules are already created, so you have to play within the rules to be able to win. And sometimes you got to do things you don't like to do.
We do have to do things we don't like to do occasionally, and play. Luckily, Airbnb does let you set some of your own rules, some of your own house rules. So we've actually, we don't use them unless we get somebody kind of nasty or trying to take advantage of us. But we've set some ridiculous rules that if I read those in a guest agreement, I would never sign it. You would never sign it. But people don't read that stuff. And then it's a nice kind of lever to get back to, let's have a normal conversation. It's like, I don't want to do that. That's not fair. I'll do it if you keep pursuing whatever you're pursuing, but like, I think that we can come back to, some place that's agreeable to everybody.
Yeah.
That we have found that's worked in the past.
Yeah, that makes sense. So after
And
this
it's
project's
unfortunate that we have
completed,
to do that.
Andrew, and you guys are looking for your next thing, do you think you just keep buying more buildings, or do you have any other ideas of where the business might go after this next project is done?
Yeah, that's a great question. Something I think about often. We will probably hang up our hospitality boots after this one, and start to diversify into either some other businesses or some other real estate ventures that are not hospitality focused.
Yeah.
And I'm really trying to find one that we can use with, like, hospitality. You can use your business expertise and you get rewarded like your real estate, instead of a 4x multiple on EBITDA for your business that makes $2 million. You get an 8 cap, which is effectively like 12 to or 16 to 20x on it. So I'd like to figure out how we can use those business skills to get rewarded in real estate, and accelerate that cash in a way, since real estate's so capital intensive.
I think something you should consider is starting a fund. So start a real estate fund where you can find projects that you like, and then you can use your biggest business acumen to create a group of people that see your same vision, and then help them or have them help you to raise the funds. And then you can, keep doing some real estate projects, and then you can take part in, the front end, you get some fees to make, and then the back end is really where the cash is at when you sell the property eventually. But it's a great way of kind of pulling some more people into this adventure with you, right? And they can take part in it, because there's only so many seats at the table with these size projects. And probably after this next one's done, people are going to be throwing money at you, because they're going to be like, man, I want to work with Andrew. He just did these 2 amazing projects. And all the banks that didn't want to talk to you before are going to want to invest with you, because now you've got this stellar track record. So I would definitely consider looking at starting a fund.
Yeah. That's something something I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
Do you start a fund, and because it doesn't matter how rich you are and how much money you have. If you're playing the real estate game and you're doing well at it, you will run out of cash.
Yep.
So that's our next step, to figure out the fundraising. Do we do project by project, or a big pool and go do what we want within the fund?
Yeah, there's all kinds of things you can do. Look into a company that, if you're so interested in this, I know you still got some time to figure it out, but there's a company that I know that's called Avestor, and it's a technology company that is also a company that helps people create funds, and they've got a community where people can work together, and there's a whole bunch of logistics that they handle, but it's a pretty slick system. It's called Avestor. It's definitely worth looking into.
Interesting. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
Awesome, Andrew. Well, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your experience with us and this amazing adventure that you're on. I'm really
Yeah.
excited for you, and hopefully next week you get that red tape. You can smash the red tape and get that permit and start going in there and building that place back out.
Yep. I hope so too. And I can't wait to share it with you when we get it finished.
Oh yeah, I'm so excited. Maybe we'll have you back on after it's done, and you can share some of the before and after stuff. I'm sure you guys are documenting a lot of this.
Every day. Every day.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
You got it. And everybody, thanks for listening to this edition of the REI Hacker podcast. Keep an eye out for more amazing guests like Andrew, where we talk about business and real estate and investing and wealth generation. So we'll see you on the next podcast, and please share and like this one so we can continue to grow the audience. Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye.